I received this for free.
How's it going? This is the W04 mini PC from PELADN. This mini PC is definitely tailored more towards like office, administrative, and server work rather than use cases like gaming. I'll get into that in a second, but I just wanted to get that out of the way so that you can have your expectations set properly for this thing.
The specs are pretty decent for what you get here. For the CPU, you get a 6-core, 12-thread AMD Ryzen 5 7640HS with Radeon 760 mobile graphics. You are dealing with shared VRAM here, so you can squeeze out a little bit more performance by allocating a couple extra gigs of RAM to the 760M chip. I wouldn't give it too much though, considering that is going to be eating into your existing RAM. The 760M is good enough for things like 4K video and movie playback. It handles it perfectly smoothly. I would call this just a step below the performance of something like a Steam Deck. This model does ship with a single 16GB stick of DDR5 memory running at 5600 megatransfers per second. And for storage, you do get a 1TB PCIe 4 NVMe SSD. PELADN gives you a very clean installation of Windows with no weird OEM bloatware. And the BIOS on this thing is actually pretty robust compared to other mini PCs I've tried out. You get all of the customization options I could possibly hope for in this thing. For I/O, on the front you have two USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports, one USB-C, and a headphone jack. On the back you get two USB 2.0 ports for mouse and keyboard, a USB 4 Type-C port, two wired Ethernet ports, 1 gigabit and one 2.5 gigabit, and then you have a DP 1.4 and an HDMI 2.0. This machine can handle up to 4 monitor outputs at once, 2 screens via the DP and HDMI, and then 2 screens via both of the USB-C ports.
Alright, now let's get into gaming real quick.
Can you game on this mini PC? Technically yes, but I do want to set some realistic expectations. Any modern title is going to require setting your resolution below 1080p from 720 to 900, all settings low, and turning on ultra performance FSR upscaling in combination with frame generation if it's available. That is the only way you're going to get any semblance of a playable frame rate out of a modern title. That being said, older titles or less graphically demanding stylized games do actually run fairly decently. Depending on the game, you can get between 40 and 60 frames per second. I think where this machine truly shines is emulation. If you plan on using this as like an entertainment center emulation PC, in that case, you're gonna have a good time.
If you want to use this as like a living room entertainment center PC, that's a great idea. This would make a great streaming box. It handles 4K video and movie playback just fine. Of course, it's got that Ethernet port, so you could plug in some wired internet and get really stable streaming on this. Something I will always appreciate about PELADN mini PCs is the fact that they are so easily upgradable.
The top panel just pops right off, and you're greeted with a 2.5-inch SATA SSD slot. The RAM in this will come in a single stick configuration, but since there are 2 slots, you can add a second 16 gig stick as long as it's the same speed, or you can fully replace and upgrade it with a dual channel set. For storage upgrades, you have 2 M.2 NVMe ports, 1x4 and 1x3.
And of course, as expected from any decent mini PC, it is VESA mountable if you want to mount this thing on the back of a monitor. For creative workloads like video editing and music production, this thing can handle creative workloads pretty much fine. With 16 gigs of RAM, you are going to be severely limited in terms of performance. If you're going to be doing music production, you definitely want to make sure that you are bouncing in place and purging unused samples. If you're editing videos, just make sure that you are rendering low-res proxies. And yeah, you'll get a smooth editing experience as long as you're doing that. This entire video will be edited on this mini PC, just so you know. If it's a bad experience, then this video will not get uploaded. So yeah, I am very happy with this. In the context of the current component crisis that we have, do I wish it were cheaper? Yes. But we're going to have to wait for RAM to stabilize, if it ever does, before that happens. I know PELADN is definitely aware of this. But yeah, it's good stuff. Definitely worth checking out.